Hello and welcome back to the Creation Reformation YouTube channel. Today I just wanted to share with you an interview that I did at a creation conference over this past summer at the Creation Research Society. So the Creation Research Society, it started in the 1960s with just a small group of scientists and has since grown into a large creationist community. And it publishes a quarterly research journal and which is just full of the latest in creation research. And they also have a conference every year, usually in the summertime. And this year, 2025, I got my first chance to go to the Creation Research Society conference, and not only just to go, but also present some of the independent research that I've been doing over the past year. So I've been to other creation conferences before. Origins is another conference, happens every year between the Creation Biology Society, Geology Society, and Theology Society, and they get together every year and share their research. And I've been able to go to that for the last few years. And I've also gone to the International Conference on Creationism, which is the big creation conference that happens every 4 or 5 years, that has kind of all the big organizations. And it's down at Cedarville, and it's just ginormous. And so I've been to other conferences before, but this is my first CRS conference. And I got to go to talk about my own independent research, which involved post-flood speciation models. So post-flood speciation basically refers to the fact that after Noah's flood, all land-dwelling, air-breathing animals have been reduced to two representatives from each kind, as Genesis says, that God brought two of every kind to Noah. And so we get from two of every kind all the species that we have today that are land-dwelling, air-breathing must have diversified from these two of every kind. And so how that happened in such a short amount of time, just about 4,500 years, is, I think, the biggest question in creation biology. So I kind of dove into that project for the last maybe year and a half, doing lots of research and reading in that area, and I presented a survey of evidence that we have that animals can adapt and diversify and eventually speciate in very short time spans, and then kind of gave some input on what circumstances allow animals to do that. And so it was really cool. It was a great conference. There were lots of people there. It was one of the bigger conferences I've ever been to. But the Creation Research Society, again, they publish a quarterly journal, and they have a pretty good website you can check out. I'm going to share that here. There's what their quarterly journal looks like. And then they have different levels of membership that can give you access to all of their papers. And they're not like Answers in Genesis or ICR or CMI, where they have their own kind of group of scientists. It's really community focused in that they have all scientists from all areas, from different organizations, that can write and publish through Creation Research Society. So there are scientists who are for example, Institute for Creation Research, like he is right there. Brian Thomas is from the Institute for Creation Research, and he was at CRS. And so creationists from all different organizations can publish research here at the Creation Research Society. They have kind of a new director, Joel Brown, who is one of the younger faces in the creation movement. And I've had the pleasure of talking to him a few times. Here's, I guess, Spike Saris is in the spotlight right now on their website. I actually had lunch with him at CRS. That's funny. I had met him for the first time, and we had a lovely conversation over lunch with some other creationists. So it was a really, really great event. Large numbers kind of showed up and showed out for this and got to share their research. So a variety of different membership levels, and then their publications is the Creation Research Society Quarterly. And if you do become a paying member, you will have access to kind of their full collection of journals. And you can see lots of different scientists on these from everywhere. Is Matthew McLean. He's written some things over at New Creation blog, and so I'm pretty familiar with his work. Paul Garner, the author of The New Creationism, which is kind of related to, not directly, but somewhat loosely related to the New Creation blog. And so some people that I'm pretty familiar with, and then lots of Danny Faulkner, he's from Answers in Genesis. Jake, I always say Hebert, but that might be wrong. But he is over at ICR. So creationists from all over the place, and they come together every year to share lots of research at the Creation Research Society conference. So while I was there, got a chance to meet and then sit down with Eric Hovind. And Eric Hovind has a channel called Creation Today. He is not, I don't really know his whole background, but he is not a scientist. He has a channel where he brings on scientists and interviews them all the time, and it's really, really great. From also like CRS, they're kind of from all over the place. So he has creationists on talk on his channel. And so he has a great channel over there. Highly recommend it. It's called Creation Today. And he has a full hour-long video about the CRS conference that just went out on his channel. And he sat down with me and asked me a few questions about my research. And yes, Eric Hovind is the son of Kent Hovind, who is a very controversial creation speaker who was very popular in the kind of 1990s, especially, but he's continued to do work in the 2000s, and then a very controversial figure, right? Went to prison and for tax evasion and all sorts of controversy kind of just followed him for a long time. But Eric does not seem to be very associated with Ken Hovind's work, and so he's kind of doing his own thing with Creation Today. And it was really weird to meet him and talk to him for the first time. It was kind of surreal. You know, I grew up watching Ken Hovind's videos, and I've since kind of moved on from Ken Hovind's material and moved past that, and wouldn't exactly recommend that. But Eric Hovind's channel, I'm happy to say I can completely recommend, as he's interviewed lots of great creation scientists over at that channel. So it was a pleasure and really fun to sit down and talk about my research with him. He's extremely enthusiastic. He manages to look more enthusiastic than creation scientists are when talking about their research, which is really impressive, because if you ever get a creation scientist to talk about their own research, it usually bubbles out of them. They're very, very excited to talk about their own research, and Eric Hovind somehow manages to be more enthusiastic than they are in his full video, and I think he keeps that energy in our interview. So thank you, shout out to Eric Hovind. Thank you for sitting down and talking with me. Thank you for giving me just a clip of our interview so I could post it here. And thanks for checking out the Creation Reformation YouTube channel. I hope you enjoy the interview, and hopefully I can post some more information about this research that I'm talking about here at the channel, so you can check out more about that. So thanks for tuning in, and hope you enjoy the interview.
Guys, it is so cool to see young people coming to the Creation Research Society and not just attending, but presenting. Jake, you just did a presentation here.
I did, Eric.
And this isn't your first time to present at a creation, where they're critiquing what you do. Like, you've done this at other places, and you just came here to do that this week.
Yep. So I presented this a few times this year, and yeah, so submitted to CRS and got to do the talk here. It was my first Creation Research Society
Very
meeting,
cool.
So, yeah.
Well, tell us about your talk. What did you get to talk about? What are you researching, and what are you interested in?
All right, so my interest is in the big question in creation biology, which is we believe that an ark landed in Mount Ararat with 2 of every kind of animal and 7 of some of those kinds. And but those are general categories of just kinds. And as those animals get released from the ark, 4,400 years ago, we hit the present, and we have millions of species, which are specific, not broad. They're specific categories. So my question is, the big question in creation biology is, how do we get from 2 of every kind on the ark to the millions of species that we see today? That's, I think, the biggest question in creation biology, in my opinion. And so my research was surveying. It's called a survey. So I'm surveying the secular, or a lot of people don't like to use that word, but contemporary conventional literature, and looking for data and evidence that will support mechanisms that can help things speciate quickly enough to go from the ark to the species diversity that we have today.
And give me the 10,000 foot view. Do we have any?
So
do we have things?
It was shockingly easy to find things in that area. There's a new process out there called contemporary evolution, and this was actually discovered in conservation biology. So there were conservationists who were putting together these 10-year, 30-year conservation plans on how to save species, and they were finding that they had to take into account the fact that species would adapt to conditions so quickly that they had to take that into account in their conservation planning. So it's basically adaptation in such short time spans, contemporary evolution meaning years to decades. That's what the contemporary means there. And this is something that they're looking at. So again, the word evolution was actually a little stirring at this talk, but the way I put it to some is, creationists generally don't have a problem with evolution if you put the word micro in front of it.
Correct.
And I'm saying we shouldn't have a problem if you put the word contemporary in front of it, because it essentially means the same thing. It's
micro.
It's adaptations that are happening. They're just happening really, really quickly, and it's not enough to get a human from a chimpanzee, which of course that's not even our ancestors, but trying to not straw man them. But it's not enough to make those dramatic changes, but it's adaptations that are going to help a kind diversify across the globe, and they're going to need to do a lot of adaptations to fit into those environments. If you look at some of the environmentological studies, we don't think there were that many kinds of marsupials, but marsupials are very, very diverse. So we need a lot of those adaptations to happen to get all of the organisms to where they are today, looking like the way they are today, things that look very, very different in the same created kind. How does that happen? That's what I'm looking at. So contemporary evolution is a great example of that. There are examples in cichlid fish and their reproductive isolation, which means the red fish are mating with the red fish and the green fish are mating with the green fish, and they're starting to split off like that. We have birds finding new migration routes. So there's a bird called the European blackcap, and because of human activity, basically one population found a new migration route. One of them migrates southwest, one of them migrates northwest. They end up in completely different places. They eat different foods, they fly different distances, and because of that, they have different beak shapes, they have different wing sizes, and they look different color-wise. Coloration is different. So these are quick adaptations that only happen in a few generations.
Whoa, so
really
we're talking
remarkable.
one bird source that ended up diverging into these two?
Yep.
And would contemporary science call that a new species? Would they look at that?
It depends. Again, there's a lot of different definitions of species. So if someone could easily come in and describe one and say, hey, this is a new species, there's such a strong difference between the two populations that they have seen hybridization between the two, and the hybrids don't know where to migrate. They get lost somewhere in the middle, which is a little sad, but very cool to see that they're so divergent, really, that when they interbreed, when they hybridize, which often happens, you have two populations split up, and then there's going to be a little bit of interbreeding. When interbreeding happens, they get lost in between both migrations. Pretty close to 50% right in between both.
That's amazing.
Which is remarkable. And so that amount of difference only happened in a handful of generations, which is remarkable.
Cool. Okay, Are you already relating this to any kind of markers or any kind of is it the environment? Is it an epigenetic thing?
Yeah.
Is it
so for that, I had to borrow some from the conventional literature again. There's an idea they have called adaptive radiation. And adaptive radiations get a bunch of different species in a short period of time. They don't expect to see that now because there's certain conditions that lead to that. And there are 4 actually. So really, really quickly, the 4 conditions are visiting a new landmass or finding a new landmass, utilizing new resources that might just appear somewhere, an extinction event. So their big example is dinosaurs go extinct from a meteorite. When the mammals survive, they speciate really quickly because of all the new resources. And then the appearance of a key innovation. So they had a new kind of mutation or gene adapts, gives them a new innovation, and then they can speciate really quickly. So those are kind of the conditions. And so I borrowed that term, adaptive radiation. I said, what if we have contemporary evolution today? We have adaptive radiation happening throughout the evolutionary timeline, just rarely. But those conditions match the post-flood world so well. I put the adaptive radiation in the post-flood world where everything is a new migration route, everything is a new resource, everything is a new, is just brand new and growing. And I think contemporary evolution is going to be happening a ton in that post-flood world. So here's my thing is, I think we can build a case for this speciation happening really quickly, and I think we can do that without really even knowing what the mechanisms are for that, which is something that evolutionists and creationists have to figure out, is what's genetically actually happening here.
Yeah.
We don't really know, but the thing is, it's not just creationists who are trying to figure that out, because the evolutionists are now seeing what the conservationists are finding, that there's a speciation or these adaptations happening really quickly, and they're trying to come up with those mechanisms too. But what I did with my presentation, I didn't say this is the mechanism, we now know what it is, but I did say we can make a case for rapid post-flood speciation, even if we don't know what those mechanisms are. And that was really the whole talk in a nutshell there for you.
That's cool.
Yeah,
wow.
It is really cool.
Isn't it cool to see young people? How can I ask how old you are on camera?
I'm 24.
24 and single?
I am.
Ladies.
Yes. Okay.
No, I love it, man. You're 24 and you're saying, man, let me see how God can use my mind for His glory.
for
and
sure.
you're actually helping us solve things that the creation community is wondering and creation science is trying to figure out. So I just think that's really cool.
Hopefully it's a step in the right direction.
I love it. Man, Jake, guys, thank you very much, buddy.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it.